Uh-oh. So it's breakup time in Alaska, and a lot of people don't know what that means. I've had people say, oh, is that when everybody breaks up and goes their separate ways, files for divorce and all that stuff? Well, actually that happens more often than you'd believe, but it's called breakup because that's when the ice in the rivers breaks up and starts to flow out. Breakup can also be called mud season if you've grown up somewhere else that's kind of cold and snowy. That might be what they call it there, but here we call it breakup. And it can last for a month, month and a half. It lasts for a pretty long time. And it is the most disgusting time of year. It's the time where you find everything that you were supposed to have cleaned up back in fall and you forgot to do that. It's a time where you find everywhere that the dogs have been pooping over winter. It's a time when, as the ground thaws, itself has its own unique stench. Because of various, bacteria and things in the soil. So it's a real stinky, mucky time of year, but it's also kind of nice because it warms up and you can start doing a few outdoors things that you couldn't do during winter. This is what our driveway looks like. We've been using this as our... Okay, thank you. We've been using this as our bird yard for winter. We're going to empty the birds out of this yard so that we can turn this into a garden. I made a little temporary shelter in another fenced area, so we're in the process of moving them over there. So here's a spot I was trying to do some work earlier today, where I was going to put a ladder up against the side of the house to do some work on the side of the house. And you can see my footprints where I sank in. And I did try to put the ladder in a couple of spots, but I ended up having to put plywood across because it wouldn't work any other way. So the thing about breakup is that if you put anything of any kind of weight, especially a higher PSI, it's going to sink to the level that there is still ice underneath. So if I step in this now, my foot is going to go in as deep as it can until it stops at where the ice currently sits. So as it gets later and later in breakup, and the ice melts, it melts from the top down, sometimes you can sink in very, very deep. And when vehicles are trying to drive on... And when vehicles are trying to drive on roads that maybe don't have type R and gravel, they might be like dirt trails, a lot of times you'll see they will sink in up to their axles because that ice is still down there at the bottom, but everything above that ice is just kind of mushy muck that can't support any weight. We do have seedlings going in the greenhouse. We like to put a little fan on them to make sure that they grow up strong. With all this talk about fertilizer shortages, no shortages around here. You need fertilizer, you come see us. We got plenty. So you can see this field is full of horse manure that's been brought out in sleds over winter. And we've just got water just running across the top of everything because that's where it slopes. And it is not going into the ground because everything is still frozen underneath. We can keep going out here, trying not to smash up the ground too much, and you can see the abundance of poop that we've been bringing out. And we'll drag it later on in the spring, get it distributed. Some of it's from the horses, some of it is from the goat house, or maybe the chicken house, or wherever. So you can imagine how lovely it smells. Now that it's no longer snowy enough to bring it all out by sled, we've got the horses themselves bringing it out by cart. You also get some moose fertilizer if you know where to look. What is that? Moose brats?
Moose brats.
Dog turd. Dog turd. Dog turds. Dog turds. Horse turd. Dog turd. Dog. Which of these turds are yours? So we have a culvert running underneath this trail so that it can help drain things from this side over to this side, because that's how the slope goes. But that culvert is completely full of ice. So instead things are backing up and just flowing across the top of the trail. Why would somebody leave a perfectly good rain jacket out all winter to get frozen down? I tried to pull this up the other day, it was still frozen down. It is finally free. Still got some ice there. I guess I can just leave it out in the rain now to get washed, so it will stay there for a bit. And why did somebody leave a marker out on the ground? I don't know.
Your old house.
Just like with our trail, the culvert that goes underneath the road right around here, well, it's not doing its job, so the water just flows across the top of the road, taking road material with it, and we get to have the joy of no longer driving on nice packed snow. And we have potholes again. Lovely! Dog turds. Dog turds. Dog turds. Dog turds. Dog turds. What's that? Oh, more dog turds. Hey, you want a dog turd? Look, in case that wasn't enough dog turds for you, here's some more dog turds. So here's one of the birch trees that we've tapped. And I know that it's got some sap dripping into this bucket. Now, this is one of the really nice things about breakup time, because, well, birch sap is great. It tastes good. You can drink it plain. Of course, you can watch our old video of turning it into syrup and or beer. But in some places, especially parts of Europe, they just bottle it and sell it as is. They might call it birch water. You can also call it birch sap. And it's just good plain. If you are maybe one of those peoples from the olden times that were dealing with a rough winter, this is one of the best parts of the year, because this is the first fresh nutrition of the year. It's got some sugars and vitamins and amino acids, and oh, branches in the way. There's not too much of it right now, but I'm just gonna just take a sip. Ooh, that's good. It's very subtly sweet. Just super refreshing. Pro tip, when you're walking back towards the house and you want to get all the muck and crap off of your boots before you go inside, you take the snowiest path you can find. So any place that there is still snow, that's where you want to walk during this time of year. You use that snow as long as you can. So breakup doesn't sound like much fun, does it? But we have a lot of daylight. We're feeling extra energized because of all that daylight coming back. It's warming up enough that we're starting to do some outside chores. And it's just kind of a sometimes frustrating time of year, because we really, really want to get going on projects, but the ground is still frozen. So I guess if we're trying to look on the bright side and think about the beauty of breakup, if anything, it's that it separates the patient from the impatient. If you can't handle breakup, then maybe you don't deserve Alaska. So that's me trying to look on the bright side. Despite how ugly things might be this time of year, it is warm enough now that we can be grilling, cooking outdoors. We've got the smoker going here, and a couple of really beautiful hunks of moose. I think that my favorite thing about this time of year is the return of birds that have nice sounds. So that might be the sandhill cranes. I know robins come back. And my personal favorite are the Wilson snipes, not to be confused with a Wesley snipes. They have this really cool sound called winnowing that they make with their wings. It's not actually a bird call. It's made by their wings when they're diving. So I do have some footage of that I will close out the video with, because it's my favorite sound of spring. Dog turds. Dog turds.